Hello, welcome to another video by Rick Miracle. Me. My series Freemasonry and Satanism. So I am going to do the final video on this book, part 7. So assuming about 2 hours times 7, 14 hours of video. That's how important I think this is. The Death Head. Antony Sutton. It's been very educational for me to go through this material with a fine-tooth comb. The nitty-gritty, get the details cemented in my head. So I'll share that in this last video. But before we go there, as you are aware if you've been watching my videos, I collect books. Here's an interesting book, Secrets of the Tomb. I've yet to read this thoroughly, but after reading this, it should be interesting to compare the notes. Skull and Bones, the Ivy League, and the Hidden Paths of Power, Alexandra Robbins. Now think about this, seriously. The people, according to Antony Sutton and other books I have, who run our world come from the Illuminati, the Banksters, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the Freemasons, Skull and Bones, with the Death Head, satanic symbolism, without a doubt. These people have been running our world. We've experienced nothing but human suffering over and over and over again. Even since the Illuminati took over the financial system in the United States of America in 1913, Christmas time, while the senators and representatives and everybody else was on vacation, a group of the elites, probably members of the Skull and Bones Death Head, met on Jekyll Island, Senator Hyde and a bunch of others, and created the policy for the creation of the Federal Reserve, which is not a federal institution, but a private bank owned by the Rothschilds and other members of the Illuminati. Again, another cult of the Mystery School of Babylon. Babylon means gateway to the gods. What gods? Why are they erecting the Temple of Baal, B-A-A-L, 2 A's, in New York and London, that was recently destroyed by the ISIS people over there in Palmyra, Syria, or Lebanon, Israel area? You can look it up. And look at the temple, and then look at the one they're erecting, and then look at the New Age books, and the columns. This is New Age. This is a Freemason, the Scottish Rite, as you can see there, with their interesting creed you can see here. I'll pause it so you can stop your computer and pause it and read it. But in particular, number 5, the entire separation of church and state. Opposition to every attempt to appropriate public monies, federal, state, or local, directly or indirectly, for the support of sectarian or private institutions. So they don't want any kind of financial support for a Catholic high school, for example. Maybe a Baptist child care center. Now these people with their symbolism, as you can see right there, the guy with the naked woman below him and the one over here with the snake, Egyptian hieroglyphics, equality, liberty, fraternity. It's for them. no equality for you or me, no liberty for you or me, no fraternity for you or me. They have fraternities, which are these skull and bones associations with satanic symbolism. So they want to get rid of Christianity and other religions relating to God and the Ten Commandments and decency and morality, and bring us, as you can see with the naked picture, and this guy with the robe over his head, the gay agenda, and all the other New Age material. And crazy enough, the Scottish Rite magazine says New Age right on it. Got a couple of these. Their buildings are called temples. And a lot of these people, probably 99%, come from the Freemasonic lodges or the Skull and Bones or Illuminati. And interestingly enough, they appear to be based on the foundation of King Solomon's temple. And King Solomon had a magic ring which he could call forth demons, interdimensional beings, and that's where he got his power. So all kinds of occult, magic, witchcraft, magicians, Kabbalah, occult, as I keep saying. So I just thought I'd have this little book review before I start reading some more from the book. So then you got this book here, Secrets of the Tomb. Who are these people who rule our world, who come from these organizations? No question. If you do any research at all. Want to learn a little bit what they do? The Franklin cover-up. I got these books. Child abuse, Satanism, and murder in Nebraska. Senator John DeCamp is the author. Here's a picture of him. Senator. Listen to this. The shutdown of Omaha, Nebraska's Franklin Community Federal Credit Union, raided by federal agencies in November 1988, sent shockwaves all the way to Washington, D.C. 40 million was missing. The credit union's manager, Republican Party activist Lawrence E. Larry King Jr., behind whose rise to fame and riches stood powerful figures in Nebraska politics and business and the nation's capital. Remember, they graduate from places like this. They belong to fraternities like the Freemasons. Only the evil ones get to the top and then get special appointments and rigged elections to put them in power. Make no mistake. What looked like a financial swindle soon exploded into a hideous tale of drugs, Iran-Contra money laundering, and nationwide child abuse ring and ritual murder. Everything I've been saying, and from my investigation, this is number 83 series of my videos on Freemasonry and Satanism, so I've certainly done a little homework. And apparently the evil ones are in control of our country, and look what they have done. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Panama, South America, taking over the countries and putting these elites in charge. Even Brazil. Lots of the natives died. Another book. Got a lot to read here. Family of Secrets. So that's why going over this book, getting deep into the details, will be so beneficial when I do read this book. The Bush Dynasty, America's Invisible Government, and the hidden history of the last 50 years. I suppose if you really want to read a good book, any one of these books. Treason in America. How far back does this information go? And what's concerning to me is, what do they have planned for the near future? If you're watching any YouTube videos or alternate websites, or even the Main Street News now, is just full of this material. Completely bizarre, like that situation where they're going to erect the Temple of Baal, B-A-A-L, in New York and London. Baal's a demon. And we know they're trying to destroy Christianity. Even the U.S. Army manual, if you join the Army, says you can't talk about Jesus or Christianity, or you can be court-martialed. But you can erect a temple to Baal in New York and London. And these people running our country, can be involved in child trafficking and ripping off we the people of millions and billions and trillions of dollars, building this one world order, new age insanity. Controlled by the Freemasons, it's the name of their manual, their book, their magazine. So what Harvard's history books won't tell you. It says here, the Secretary of the Treasury in the United States in 1801 to 1813 was a Swiss nobleman sent here to direct a foreign takeover of the U.S. financial system. The traditional first families of Boston made their fortunes exclusively in such criminal activities as drug pushing in collaboration with foreign powers at war with the United States. It just gets worse and worse, and it's all documented. So I suppose I'll have to read this book and share it. Least we forget. You want to talk about New World Order? Look at the thickness of this book. My New Order, Hitler. So here's a speech by Hitler. Men of the German Reichstag. President Göring has called at my order the present session to give you an opportunity to receive a declaration of the Reich government relative to questions which instinctively are regarded not only by yourselves but also by the whole German people as important, nay, decisive. When in the gray November days of 1918, the curtain was lowered on the bloody tragedy of the Great War, millions of people throughout the world breathed easier again. Like a harbinger of springtime, hope spread among the nations, not only because one of the saddest wars in the history of mankind had come to an end, but also because a period full of eras, therefore a calamity period, had passed into history. Amid the tumult of war, savage threats, accusations, maledictions, condemnations, the views of the President of the United States had reached the ear of the world. They spoke of new times and a better world. In 14 months, the nations were given an outline, such as would make a new order for the peoples of mankind. Whatever faults there may be, or were, found in these points, one thing doubtless is in their favor. Recognition that the mechanical restoration of former conditions and the institutions and opinions would in short time lead to less like consequences. There was the magic of these theses, what that they, with uncontestable grandeur, attempt to give new laws to a community of peoples, to fill them with a new spirit through which an institution could grow and flourish to become a league of nations, not only to weld nations together outwardly, but above all to bring them inwardly closer together in mutual consideration and mutual understanding. 1936. Berlin, Germany. Lots of stuff here, but apparently they wanted the New World Order. And we know this was World War I. Then following that, they had World War II. Things like the Franklin cover-up. And so much more here of these secret societies ruling our world, crashing the economic system in America at least 8 or 9 times since they took over the Federal Reserve. And just making life miserable for people striving to make a living and grow personal family fortunes or send their kids to college and all that, just to be destroyed again and again and again and again. And it looks like they, with all the talk now, with the China becoming the world's base currency, not the US dollar, on the 19th of April 2016, the increased military buildup worldwide, threats of World War III, crashing the dollar, cashless society, microchipping all of us, getting rid of Christianity, threats of plagues, threats of global warming, global cooling, climate change, taking away property rights under the guise of sustainability, biodiversity. We can say clearly that these people are hard at work to destroy the world which we know. And I bet that the future they have planned is not good. More like the movie Hunger Games. Well, how is that for an opening? It's just concerning to me. The proof seems overwhelming. It seems like they have something looming in our future. And today, I've noticed since 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning, April 10th, 2016, Sunday, I'm in the mountains of North Carolina, and the sky spraying was crazy this morning. I videoed it a couple times, and I'll be publishing another video on that right away. So what are they doing? HAARP systems, HAARP, microwave transmitters all over the world. It threats these days of Yellowstone blowing up. And some kind of catastrophe seems like is coming. And likely it'll be planned to bring about their declared New World Order. George Bush Sr. said so many times. Kissinger, the Pope, Obama, Clinton. Who didn't say it? Kissinger. All right, moving on here. So, trying to finish up this book. Secret political organizations can be and have been extremely dangerous to the social health and constitutional vitality of a society. There you go. In a true free society, the exercise of political power must always be open and known. So we've had these secret gangsters with the death head, like pirates, ruling our world. No doubt about it. Moreover, organizations devoted to violent overthrow of political structures have always been necessary, by necessity, been secret organizations. So these people couldn't do what they're doing unless they were doing it in secret and keeping secrets. Which makes us wonder about all the other technological advances and what's the truth about aliens, UFOs, and paranormal psychic stuff, and technologies like the Philadelphia experiment, putting microwave transmitters around the ship and it disappears and reappears elsewhere. And when it returns, people are half in and half out of the bulkhead. CERN, the collider in Geneva, Switzerland on the French border, with the statue of the goddess of destruction out front, Shiva, and the logo 666, that's the mark of the beast. And they got this video out that's just creepy. And so much more satanic symbolism all over the world. What's it got to do with the taking over all the countries in the Middle East, overthrowing the presidents and killing them and murdering the people and shipping them to Europe and the United States? The death head. I think these people hate us. They call us Gentiles, goyim, profane, animals not to be trusted. That's what H.G. Wells said. Moving on, communist revolutionary cells are an obvious example. In fact, such revolutionary organizations could only function if their existence was secret. So it seems to me, from my research, and not all Jewish people, when I say what I'm going to say next, are included. Matter of fact, it's Jewish people, authors like Rabbi Marvin Entelman and Ph.D. Henry McCow, Canadian Jewish author, who wrote the book Illuminati, the Cult That Hijacked the World. But behind all this goes all the way back to King Solomon's temple and those Jewish leaders who had Jesus Christ crucified because he was preaching things that the people were listening to. Thus, they feared for losing their power, which is the same thing we have today with the Brotherhood of Death, Freemasons, Illuminati, Rosicrucians, and all the other mystery schools of Babylon, including the Kabbalah, the occult, witchcraft, Zionist, Jesuits, all these people in control, banksters, elitists, Bill Gates calling for population reduction, Ted Turner calling for killing off the people. Crazy. Moving on, freedom is always associated with open political action and discussion, while coercion is always associated with secrecy. There are numerous historical examples to support this premise. Back in the late 17th century, the Elector of Bavaria, Germany, the constitutional government of Bavaria, banned the Illuminati organization. Back in the 17th century, the Illuminati was banned. And you mention Illuminati to people and they start giggling and calling you a conspiracy theorist when a government banned them in the 17th century. Accidental discovery of Illuminati documents demonstrated that a secret organization was devoted to the overthrow of the Bavarian state and establishment of a world society run by the elitist Illuminati, who are apparently into Satanism and Luciferianism and have God's name Moloch, and you can look that up, Moloch, M-O-L-O-C-H, images, and they got these gigantic god that they feed children to, sacrificing their children. So accidental discovery of Illuminati documents demonstrated that a secret organization was devoted to the overthrow of the Bavarian state and established a world society run by elitist Illuminati. The Illuminati apparently created the skull and bones. More recently in England, there have been startling discoveries involving the use of Masonic movement by the Soviet KGB to subvert and infiltrate British intelligence. Lest we forget, the Bolshevik Jewish people who were sent from New York City to Russia after World War I, abducted the Tsar, his family, murdered all of them, took over Russia with the aid of the banksters in the United States and other places in the world and our military, so they could maintain control of Russia, spreading over the Caucasus Mountains and the rest of Russia. So there are people behind the scenes here in the USA who were supporting that effort. They created communism, and then that moved on to China. Again, with the support, George Bush Sr. was the ambassador to the United Nations while China was sinking to communist control. Appears like these people were behind that. And these people run the USA today. So what does that tell you? What's in our future? More recently in England, there have been startling discoveries involving the use of Masonic movement by the Soviet KGB to subvert and infiltrate British intelligence. True Freemasonry is an establishment, conservative organization, but its organizational structure can be and has been used for revolutionary purposes. Masonic aims are publicly stated to be fraternity and charity, but it is also known that Masons help each other in areas supposedly based on talent. So when you are a Freemason or Skull and Bones or these other fraternities, and the leadership gets into positions of power in our city governments, local towns, communities, county governments, state governments, federal governments, they help others of the cults to get into positions of power, thereby preventing we decent people, majority of us citizens, especially Christians and other good people, from getting in positions of power. And even if some of them who get into positions of power turn on them, like John Kennedy, etc., whistleblowers, they get murdered. In the Brotherhood, Stephen Knight comments that many have suffered because Freemasonry has entered segments of society where it has no place. Just like I said, we don't have a competitive edge. Look at the banks now and the economic crisis in America and the world. Me, Mr. Rick, Christian, let's say I have a brilliant idea for a business or I want to buy a large company, I'm likely to be just laughed at. But if I change my name to Rick Goldstein and want to take over some corporate establishment owned by maybe some Christian people, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they would throw tons of money at me and want me to take over that institution according to the materials I have gone over in my hundreds of hours of videos. So in other words, we're in an unfair competitive position. We can't compete with these people. And I'm noticing on my cell phone and my laptop, like the other day I went and got a haircut. Before I even got home, 2 hours later, there was an email telling me that on my next haircut, I should get a better experience and go to such and such a place. It gave me the creeps. I said, these people know what I'm doing by the hour. And there have been many more examples of that spookiness between my cell phone and the laptop computer and things I do on a daily basis. Consider what they can do. So let's say you're sitting in a little tavern with some friends. It's your birthday. You have 2 beers. And the computer monitors that and tracks you leaving, determines when you get in a vehicle, driving down the highway, and on a police scanner alerts them that you were in a bar and you had 2 beers and you're driving up the highway and you're on one of the list of people they want to discredit and destroy. They can do that. They are doing that, in my opinion, from my own observations, and I have the evidence of the things that I do and the things that I say on my phone or the things that I look up, and all of a sudden, boom, on my emails and other advertisements, somebody is targeting me. There can be no doubt that many have suffered because of the Freemasonry entering into areas of life where, according to all its publicity, proclaimed principles, it should never intrude. The abuse of the Freemasonry causes alarming miscarriages of justice. There you go. Antony Sutton, I think 1984? 1986. In England, at any rate, Freemasonry has become a self-serving organization, always discriminating in favor of its own members when it comes to contracts, jobs, careers, promotion. Imagine being a business owner like me trying to compete. The computer can steal my leads or misdirect my leads of customers that I might get from my advertising. And I believe that is happening. I am being destroyed, and I'm sure many others are. A psychiatrist once asked me, Are they after you or are they after everybody? And I said, well, they're after everybody. And he says, well, you're mentally healthy. What are you going to do about it? So I suppose if I would have said they're only after me, I might have been schizophrenic or something. But a well-known psychiatrist asked me that and told me, well, you see what you see. What are you going to do about it? Moreover, we now know that the Masonic movement in England was used by the Russian KGB to infiltrate, take over, and finally head British intelligence organizations. And as we know now here, in the USA, the CIA and other people in positions of power, like the Clintons and probably the Bushes and all that, have been involved in many mysterious illegal activities like drugs and financial institutions going bankrupt, savings and loan catastrophe, child abuse. I've got many more books on this. I could keep on going for years. But when will they pull the trigger? Because apparently the elitists are worried about we the people waking up. So they have to cause some kind of calamity, catastrophe like 911 to exercise the strong arm of the law and then neutralize all the people who know too much, abduct them, imprison them, torture them, murder them, etc., as they have done throughout history. But me, and I'm sure other people, have a strong faith in God. And I imagine myself sitting in God's hands, and it says in Proverbs, "He who seeks refuge in me, I shall be thy shield." So don't let them convince you there is no God. And keep faith in God and try to be a decent, honest person. And I believe there's power there that these death head people don't want you to know. Like Rabbi Marvin Antleman in his 2 books, Volume 1, Volume 2, to eliminate the opate. Opate means to believe in God. These Satanists who are abducting children, sacrificing them to death, and doing all kinds of other satanic perverted sexual rituals, opening dimensions possibly, trying to bring about some kind of interdimensional beings to impregnate women, like in Hitler's diary that Rabbi Marvin Antleman indicated. It's weird stuff going on. In September 1984, Scotland Yard in London advised all its police officers to not join the Freemasons. 1984, Scotland Yard told their police officers, do not join the Freemasons, lest its reputation be impartially be lost. Given this background, the order, a secret society also known as the Skull and Bones, is a clear and obvious threat to constitutional freedom in the United States. John Kerry was a Freemason. George Bush, his daddy, so many others. Its secrecy and power used to influence is greater by far than the Masons. So I think the Masons, the Skull and Bones, the Illuminati, Zionists, Jesuits, witchcraft, Rosicrucians, and many others, as mentioned in Constant Kubi's book, Beware of the Rainbow. So that would include the gay movement, Agenda 21, biodiversity, sustainability, global warming, global cooling, climate change, and all these other threats to create fear. Have a goal in mind, and it's not a benevolent world they want to bring the rest of us. Enslavement is possibly in our future, those who do not get killed. At least we forget the Georgia USA Guidestones, which indicate they want a world population of 500 million. So I guess 6 billion have to die if there is 6 billion on the planet, which I highly doubt. They lie about everything else. Given this background, the Order, a secret society also known as the Skull and Bones, is a clear and obvious threat to the constitutional freedom in the United States. Its secrecy, power, and use of influence is greater by far than Masons or any other semi-secret mutual or fraternal organization. I'm only reading my highlighted portions here. Layman Bragg, in 4 years at Yale, that's a book, published in 1871. 4 years at Yale in 1871. See how far back this goes? But still, the only other source of documented information on the cultic aspects of the order, according to Bragg, the order is intensely secret. They, the senior societies at Yale, are the only Yale societies whose transactions are truly secret. Their members never mention their names nor refer to them in any way in the presence of anyone not of their own members. And as they are all seniors, there are no old members in the class above them to tell tales out of school. So they only get invited to be a Skull and Bones member their senior year. So at the end of that year, they move on and become one of these selected individuals put in high places in industry, business, government, military, educational, medical establishments all over the country. And they are satanic by their symbolism, you can tell. You want people who have this symbol to be in charge of your world. Well, that's the way it is. However, information on cultic aspects comes from a century-old Yale concern about the operations and intentions of the Skull and Bones. An anonymous pamphlet entitled Skull and Bones. This is an account of an 1876 break-in at the Bones Temple at Yale campus. So in 1876, some members of the university who were not in the Skull and Bones broke into the temple and exposed some of the truths. This is reference to a break-in by a group of Yale students, and the pamphlet describes in minute detail the contents of the temple. The walls are adorned with pictures of the founders of the Bones at Yale and of the members of the society in Germany. So this is a subsidiary of a German society. And remember, the Illuminati were banned by the Bavarians because they were planning on taking over the world in their documentation. When the chapter was established here in 1832, this sentence becomes of interest when the Illuminati aspect is discussed in Memorandum 5 below. Bones is a chapter of a corpse in a German university. It should properly be called not Skull and Bones Society, but Skull and Bones Chapter General Russell. Its founder was in Germany before senior year and formed a warm friendship with a leading member of the German society. And remember, the Hegelian dialectic, divide and conquer, and also using false flags like 911 to change the thinking of people, mind control, also came from Germany. The secret establishments in Germany, not the German normal people, just like the secret establishments here in the United States, seemingly leading us towards World War III, is not the USA people. We will be sacrificed. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, look up what he said in Fink's Bar. Prime Minister Sharon of Israel, look up when he said that, he's putting keywords, Benjamin Netanyahu, Fink's Bar, or Prime Minister Sharon, and we control America. Find this information for yourself. We all need to get a grip on what's going on. We're about to lose a whole nation and all the resources and everything that they're going to steal and put us in prison, FEMA camps, or killed, or in cities, and we'll lose all of our inheritance. They're already diluting our inheritance by bringing in all these foreigners for malicious intent, I'm sure. Why would they be killing all the Arabs, and the ones they don't kill, they're bringing to the United States and the European Union? Why? Doesn't sound good to me. Why are they sky spraying chemicals in our sky? Fluoride in the water, fluoride in the toothpaste, and God knows what else in the foods. We know the vaccines are causing all kinds of problems and killing children, and the doctors who were investigating that mysteriously dying, banksters mysteriously dying, a lot of our military leaders are being let go. scientists mysteriously dying, biologists mysteriously dying. What's going on? These people are in charge. Think about this. Skull and Bones is not American at all. It is a branch of a foreign secret society. So George Bush, John Kerry are working for a foreign secret society. If you look at the symbolism, it comes from King Solomon's temple. So it has the evil Jewish people, not to be confused with the good Jewish people, trying to warn the rest of us. If you look up Zionism in images, you will see Jewish people protesting with gigantic posters, trying to tell the rest of us that these people who have turned to Satanism are in charge of our world. Presumably, this is one reason why intense secrecy is vital. It has also raised the question of just who and what this foreign organization is, and whether its objectives are compatible with those of the Constitution of the United States. April 10th, around lunchtime, thought I'd take a break from my reading the book and look at the sky today. And if you can see this, they're clearly sky spraying us. Almost everything I see in the sky is chemicals being dumped by planes. We got two spraying as we watch. So I'm reading the book with Antony Sutton, America's Secret Establishment, and I believe it's all true, and I believe what I'm seeing here in the sky right now is true. They are dumping chemicals in the sky. There's no mistaking it. The lines are not continuous. They do have a beginning, and they do discontinue. So it's being dumped. The chemicals are being dumped. Maybe biologicals. Why? Don't people want to know? All right, back to the book. All right, getting back to the book. Just thought I'd take a little look at the chemicals they're dumping in the sky. And that video wasn't as exciting as the one I took 2 hours ago, which I will publish. But the lines were clearly defined, and there were just hundreds of them. It was almost scary. What are they dumping in our skies? Anyways, these bonesmen, the death head people from Skull and Bones, and of course the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Illuminati, Zionists, Jesuits, occultists, witchcraft, Kabbalah, people who apparently worshiping the ancient pagan gods. The snake is their symbol, the star is their symbol, the columns are their symbol, the gates, like the gates, Temple of Baal, the entrance, the portals. Makes one wonder what's going on. These people are definitely evil, and they have no problem harming, killing, robbing the rest of us, raping even children, stealing the money from institutions. And they're getting away with it because people are not aware. So anyways, these guys broke into the Skull and Bones, and there's a little description here of what they saw. In the pantry are a large quantity of dishes, each piece of crockery ornamented with a picture of the skull and crossbones, each spoon and fork marked SBT Skull Bones Trust. Then on page 4 we learned that each member of Skull and Bones, as well as the scroll and key, and likely the wolf's head, has an inside name, and these names bear a remarkable resemblance to those used by the Illuminati: Chilo, Innumerus, Glacius, Pristasis, Aberris, I'm just reading my highlighted portions here. So get the book if you're interested in having evidence of what I'm saying. The editor of Iconoclast, that would be the college Yale newspaper, considered Skull and Bones a deadly evil. Not me saying that, that's what it says here. The editor of the newspaper for the college says it's a deadly evil. Remember, these people are our leaders. John Kerry, George Bush, deadly evils. We've seen what they've done. We see what they're doing. Poor Jeb Bush is crying the blues that he can't be president. Then they want to give us maybe a high priest in the Illuminati, Donald Trump, if you look at his condo in in New York City. His mansion with all the columns like you see on the Freemasons. Symbolism is right there. And of course Hillary, who Larry Nichols talking on the David Icke show, not David Icke, Alex Jones and Lisa Haven, that she would take off on weekends to go to witches' covens, do witches' ceremonies. So is Hillary Clinton a witch? Are all these people into the occult? It seems so. Out of every class, Skull and Bones takes its men. They have gone out into the world and have become, in many instances, leaders of society. So we got these witchcraft, warlocks, occultists, becoming leaders of society. And look how society's turned out. The people, the citizens in the streets look like zombies. The ones who are not homeless, and apparently are disappearing. Moving on. Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart. Now this is a Supreme Court Justice. Listen up. Dressed up in a skeleton suit. This is at a Skull and Bones meeting. An initiation probably. Howled wildly at an initiate in a red velvet room inside the tomb. So these initiates had to get naked in a coffin and tell all their sexual secrets and wrestle naked with other initiates. And you got a Supreme Court justice in there dressed up in a skeleton suit and howling wildly. These people are controlling our world. These are the people who voted that states can't make decisions about gay marriage. And a majority of them are Jewish justices on the Supreme Court right now. Does it make me an anti-Semite to notice this stuff? King Solomon's Temple and the Council of Foreign Relations. I saw a video recently, true or not, we need to look into it, but 80% of these people are Jewish that sit on the Council of Foreign Relations, handling the foreign relations activities of the United States of America. And if they're Jewish, they put Israel first. And they think we are goyim, cattle, animals, with no souls, if you read the Talmud. Just like the Skull and Bones, only the evil ones rise to the top. Everybody else gets shut out and told to shut up. McGeorge Bundy wrestled naked in a mud pile as part of his initiation. According to dossier obtained by Ron Rosenbaum, the 1940 initiation ceremony went like this. New man placed in coffin. Carried into central part of building. New man chanted over and reborn into society. So through these initiations of being naked in a coffin and wrestling in mud with other men, you get reborn into society. You don't think that's satanic? A bone with his name on it is tossed into a bone heap at start of evening. Initiates plunged naked into mud pile. So apparently there's a bone in this heap with John Kerry's name on it, and one with George Bush's name on it, and these are some of the things they went through. Again, we have a sordid preoccupation with coffins, skeletons, and death, according to Antony Sutton. Smarter guy than me. This recruiting ground interpretation suggests several points. Firstly, the documentary evidence is quite clear. Knights, i.e., the just recruited initiates, spend only 1 year as knights. They become patriots after leaving Yale and spend a lifetime as patriots, leaders of society. Second, continual correspondence and meeting as patriots continues after leaving Yale. So they become lifelong members and have meetings and are planning your and my future and likely demise of the United States and its constitutional solvency as a republic, and more likely being run as a communist nation where people are just considered workers, slaves. And they'll use lies like diversity, sustainability, biodiversity, global warming, global cooling, climate change, droughts that they're causing. That's another video on Dane Wigington's website, geoengineeringwatch.org. A fantastic article about how this sky spraying is causing droughts all over the world. Again, causing human suffering and death and destruction all over the world with the HAARP transmitters, the microwave transmitters, look them up, HAARP, and the sky spraying. Excellent article, Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org. These people are in charge of the world, and as we know, predominantly it's Jewish people who are behind the scenes advising presidents in charge of the Federal Reserve, now in control of the Council of Foreign Relations. And the symbolism from the King Solomon's Temple is behind all this stuff from the secret mystery schools of Babylon. Apparently satanic and Luciferic worship, and as we can see on the dollar bill, the all-seeing eye Horus, who is the son of Isis and Osiris. It's right there for anybody to see. For the ambitious, tapping is the magic password for a future career. Wherever he turns, the success of the Yale Senior Society system is obvious. Today's Yale University president, A. Bartlett Gimate, is a member of the Scroll and Key, while George Bush, Vice President of the United States, is a member of the Skull and Bones. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if George Bush Sr. went to one of those initiations and was dressed in a skeleton outfit and howling wildly. Bunch of perverted freaks as far as I'm concerned. The Yale campus student is well aware that the seniors society system is geared towards the affluent outside world. To the world after graduation, money and connections flow from membership. Reportedly, Skull and Bones donates $15,000 and a grandfather clock to each initiate. Remember, these are the people in charge of our world and can be directly connected to World War I and World War II. And there does seem to be an awakening across the United States and the world right now. And according to Benjamin Fulford and some other material, I've been watching videos on the internet, the Illuminati and all these other sub-organizations, Freemasons, Skull and Bones, Rosicrucians, Zionists, Jesuits, Bilderbergers, Bohemian Grove, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Club of Rome, and many more. You can look this up in Constant Kumbi's book, Beware of the Rainbow. Thousands of these witchcraft-type organizations. Well, anyways, apparently they're freaking out right now, and they have to pull the trigger on some cataclysmic event in the world to distract the rest of us and to stop us from focusing on them. They don't want to relinquish their power. And they do not treat we the people, as we see over there in the Middle East and the Ukraine. Heck, when they ousted the Ukraine president, I think Google was behind orchestrating that and organizing the people. Eric Schmidt, if you plug his name into a 666 calculator, is 666. Just like Kissinger. Just like Monsanto is 666. Santa Claus is 666. The word computer is 666. And so many more if you look up this stuff. Something sinister. So anyways, here's an itinerary of what's going on at Commencement and Reunion Calendar 1984. So there's a bunch of other stuff that's not important, but right in the middle is 3228 Skull Bones Trust. Right where my finger is pointing right there, the big letters. But all this other stuff is just other organizations in the university or the college. That one sticks right out. So I'm only reading my highlighted portions. I don't see anything highlighted here that's too important. Here's a membership list of 1917. Prescott Sheldon Bush, George Bush's daddy. Alright, a little thing I highlighted here. In brief, the organization of the order, both as a Russell Trust Association and Deer Island Corporation, is essentially geared towards the postgraduate world, the outside world. It is a senior society. Knights spend only 1 year as knights. The rest of their lives are spent as patriots in an active, influential organization able to guarantee wealth and ambition. And I might add protection. Like Hillary, according to some of the things that Bill and Hillary have been involved in, including the Bush family, you would think that these people would have been arrested. Or as George Bush Sr. said, if the public knew what we were doing, they would lynch us. George Bush Sr. said that. Look it up. Other presidents have said the same thing. Woodrow Wilson, Roosevelt. If the public knew what we were doing. They come from all these satanic organizations, and they run our world. All right, page 200. The ritual of the order is a closely held secret. The most that anyone can do at this stage is to piece together some elements of the ritual and their probable meaning. The extraordinary secrecy is itself part of the ritual. Members are sworn not to discuss the organization, its procedures, or its objectives. Presumably, only an FBI or congressional investigation could break this code of omerta. Mafia equals silence. So these are mafia-type organizations, and they run our world. There are few, if any, places where the bones life thrives in such luxuriousness outside the thick and tomb-like walls of New Haven. New Haven, Connecticut. Isn't that near Newtown, Connecticut? Did the Sandy Hook school shooting with the crisis actors to sway public opinion so they can increase the gun policies? Gun control legislation. Our order is, to use an economic term, very much horizontally integrated. The reader may consider this juvenile, and it may well be. On the other hand, these juveniles are the men today running the United States and apparently vying for World War III and other insanities, according to what we can see on the news. Main Street News now. June 17, 1936. Note that the format remains almost the same. This one was signed by Potter Stewart, later 1958-1981 Supreme Court Justice. According to Rosenbaum, one can hear strange cries and moans coming from the bowels of the tomb during initiation. So people like George Bush were going through what I'm about to read. And they become our president, even if they're not very bright. I can't think of any bright things that Obama has done. I can't think of any bright things that Bush Jr. has done, or Sr., or Clinton. But they follow orders to the puppet master, the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the people who control the Federal Reserve. So anyways, here's what goes on. 4 elements of the initiation ceremony are recorded. That the initiates have to lie naked in a sarcophagus. That he is required to tell the secrets of his sex life to fellow initiates. Makes you wonder about the gay agenda, transgender, pansexual, have sex with anything. Ashley Madison and her website, that you can have an adulterous affair, confidentiality guaranteed. Bestiality, pedophilia with children, bestiality with animals. And you can tell by these things that they do that these people are into this satanic rituals and activities. Lest we not forget in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah. It says in the Bible, man should not lie with man. So here you got these people like George Bush lying naked in a coffin telling his sex life to other guys. That patriots dress in skeletons. So you got the leaders dressed as skeletons and acting as wild-eyed lunatics howl and screech at the new initiates. That initiates are required to wrestle naked in a mud pile. So you get these guys, George Bush and John Kerry, can you just see it? Wrestling each other naked. I don't know if they were at the same year as a night in the Skull and Bones. Undoubtedly, there is more. However, the above is enough to warrant branding the order as based on behavior more suited to juvenile delinquents. I said more suitable to satanic rituals. Undoubtedly, the most serious part of the initiation process is peer pressure. The conversion of juveniles into presumably responsible members of the unelected elite. Remember, these people become our leaders, and during the elections we are offered one or the other, and both of the candidates are under the control of the puppet master, the Illuminati, which appears to be something of a subgroup of the Jewish people who want to rebuild King Solomon's temple, and called Zionism, and want to rule the world because the rest of us are animals not to be trusted. Slaves even have sex with our 3-year-old children, according to the Talmud. And according to the Talmud, the best of the goyim, they call us goyim if you're not Jewish, are to be killed. So anyways, they got these little invitations to initiation ceremonies or whatever. And they got the skull and bones and the dates. What happens in the initiation process is essentially a variation of brainwashing and encounter group processes. Knights, through heavy peer pressure, become patriots prepared for life, a life of the exercise of power and continuation of this process into future generations. So obviously they've been doing this for more than 100 years in the United States, and it has affected all of us. And they are trying to destroy Christianity. Why? In brief, the ritual is designed to mold establishment zombies. That would be Bill Clinton and George Bush and all of them. Establishment zombies. That would be Hillary Clinton and her attending her witches conventions, to ensure continuations of power in the hands of a small select group from one generation to another. But beyond this ritual are aspects notably satanic. That's what it says here. Don't want anybody to tell me I'm not reading correctly. And some more invitation to reunions and ceremonies. 1936, 1870, 1984. Long time. And look at the craziness they've caused in our world since then. The unbelievable murder and mayhem, the suffering around the planet these people have caused. Let's not forget who they are. Starting with the King Solomon's temple and all the symbolism from the ancient pyramids in Egypt and the Sphinx and other ancient symbolisms all over the world with the pyramid and all-seeing eye, the snake and the columns and the temples, the portals. What's that got to do with ancient possible cultures or aliens coming to planet Earth? In that book I was going over, The Case for UFOs. I suspect there is a connection. And are these creatures, which apparently are reptilian, are they coming back? Do they plan on repossessing their planet and enslaving the people, those they do not kill? And why are they displacing all those people from the Middle East, where there are all those monuments to these people, symbols and hieroglyphics? Creatures with dogs' heads, birds' heads, snake heads. They were apparently into this genetic manipulation, cloning. It's like Monsanto designing all these foods that are not healthy for humans, with pesticide-resistant DNA in them, and herbicide-resistant DNA in them, and we have to eat them. But the bugs won't eat them, because they're designed for the bugs to reject them. Interestingly enough, even like, go try this sometime. Take some margarine and go put a little teaspoon of it out there on the front sidewalk. And a few feet down, put a little teaspoon of butter. You'll find that the ants will eat the butter, but they won't touch the margarine. What is margarine? It's not butter. It's just chemicals. A lot of people use it. No wonder people get cancer. All right, page 207. Even with our limited knowledge of the internal ritual of the order, we can make three definite statements about the links between the order and satanic beliefs. The first link is through photographic evidence of the association of the skull and bones with satanic devices. The symbolism is everywhere, i.e. the skull and crossbones. The second link is through satanic symbolism. The third link is through the association of the order with the New Age movement. It's important to remember this. I keep bringing it up. But this is a magazine called The New Age. That is up there on the top, the Illuminati Freemason symbol. These are the columns. Naked woman under the guy. Snake on the chest here, like the Egyptians, the Ankh. And it is the Scottish Rite. They have organizations all over the world, every country. There's another page here. The Supreme Council of Freemasons and Education. You don't think they're in charge of everything? Public school work in California. These people are involved in mind controlling our kids. The magazine is called The New Age. It is Scottish Rite. And I am reading from this book here, this information. So the third link is through the association of the order with the New Age movement. We just seen this here. The Freemasons and the New Age. The magazine's called the New Age. Hitler has got a book called My New Order. Hitler was financed by these elitists from New York, the Rothschilds, Rockefeller, and the banks, as per the book Who Financed Hitler by James and Suzanne Poole, which we will go over. It's not hard to connect the dots. So again, I repeat, it says here on page 207, the third link is through the association of the Order and the New Age movement, well documented in the remarkable new book by Constance Coombe, The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow. The book I keep mentioning is mentioned in Antony Sutton's book. He says it's a good book. So I guess you can learn something if you do read books and study for 10 years, 11 years like I have. Because it's hard to believe this stuff. We don't want to believe it, but apparently it's real. And you know, the homelessness is increasing. And the story is now in a lot of cities it's illegal to feed them and even house them, according to one farmer who brought a lot of them home. And they are winding up disappearing. And this, apparently, homelessness is increasing. So where is it going to end? If they crash the dollar on April 19th, when the Chinese currency becomes the world currency instead of the US dollar, if that happens. It'll all be planned, I have no doubt. The crash seems to be coming. And those of us who have our wits about us and can see it, maybe we can control our own reality. The photographic evidence. Photographic evidence exists of the use of satanic devices as the skull and crossbones in ceremonies of the order. We reproduce on the following pages a photograph of the class of 1869, 15 members of the club, 13 standing and 2 seated, are grouped around a crossed thigh bones and a skull. A handwritten list of these men is also reproduced. An obvious point is that these bones and skulls are former human beings. Instead of getting sacred treatment, they are exhibited and used for ceremonial purposes. Where the bones should be resting decently in a grave, they have become the center of a secret ceremony. In brief, the photographs reveal the men portrayed as grave robbers who reject human dignity and decency and use satanic devices. So there's some names here and pictures. And you can see the skull and bones they use in their ceremonies. Real human beings. Of course, here's some background information. The satanic symbolism of the skull. Remember, the skull and bones is also an indicator for poison. And also the symbol for pirates. Just saying. The skull, mortality unmasked. Artist Elizabeth Stunke. Okay, so this is her opinion. The opposite of the mask is the skull. The face of the person is a fleshly skin worn between the two. People who deny the person as made in the image of God directly, and individually created and loved by Him, will seek either of these exits as being truly human, the mask which covers the mortal man, or the skull which is left after mortal man has departed. So the skull and bones are apparently symbols to indicate a rejection of these people being created by God. Remember, these people are the ones who are trying to destroy Christianity, as seen in the New Age pamphlet on the the Scottish Rite Creed on the bottom. I do not want any kind of religion involved in the school system or anything. And these people are bringing us the satanic Luciferian system, and they want to make sure that God doesn't get in the system, but they want to give us the demonic God. That ought to be alerting or alarming anybody. Primitive minds who have not yet found God, and sophisticates who have rejected him, desire the mask and the skull. So primitive minds who have not yet found God, and sophisticates, these guys Bush, Terry, John Kerry, who have rejected God, desire the mask and the skull. Just some intellectual opinions here about this stuff. Another one here. He refers to Morgenstern's poetry on sex and the skull. In this article, he feels that Picasso projected himself into the skulls. He made 8 skulls in 1 week as a method of mastering his fear of death. In 1930, Picasso was self-projecting into the Monitor monster he painted. And notice another thing. A lot of these people who become famous in our world can be traced directly back to these occult organizations. Without question. Even the movie stars, you see them all doing this. Devil sign, 3-6 sign, hidden hand. Mr. Cruz running for president. If you look at his pictures, he's doing the hidden hand. Like Napoleon, like George Washington. They come from these occultic groups. So anyways, here's a little more here. The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow. Constant Kumbi in The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow identifies several organizations linked to the order and the objectives of the order. Kumbi identifies Benjamin Cream and the Terra Center based in New York, Los Angeles, Amsterdam, and London as a New Age phenomenon. To Cream are linked Unity and Unitarian Church leaders. Unknown to Kumbi, the order has a long-standing and significant links to the relatively small Unitarian Church. In fact, former President William Taft, whose father co-founded the order, was president of the Unitarian Association at the time. Kumbi identifies the link between Hitler and the New Age movement, and the former research by the author linked the order to the founding and growth of the Nazis, like I've been saying, with these books I've been showing. More significantly, Kumbi states that the New Age movement plans to bring about a new world order, which will be a synthesis between the USSR, Russia, Great Britain, and the United States. Finally, Kumbi points out that the Antichrist and the satanic aspects are woven into the cult of the New Age movement. This might be a good time to just take a look at a couple other books. Just more evidence. The Zohar is a Jewish Kabbalah type book. The source of the Kabbalistic wisdom. Back of it says here, the importance of the feminine aspect of the Creator. How meeting any new person is an opportunity for spiritual transformation. The lesson we can learn from Noah's unbridled love of wine. How evil comes from a feeling of lack. Why David asked the Creator to test him and how he passed the test. The nature of authentic soulmate relationship. The certainty of immortality. How the Creator provides us with the tools for our own fulfillment, including prayer, meditation, the Sabbath, and the Zohar itself. Clearly New Age. And I keep mentioning these books, and I highly recommend, if you want to read anything, read these books. Volume 1, Volume 2, to eliminate the occult. Occult is like a drug. People who believe in God and prayer are receiving comfort from God, like a drug. And for some reason, the satanic forces want to eliminate your belief in God. And on the back of one of these books by Rabbi Marvin Antleman, says it right here, I'll point it out. How the Illuminati founded artificial Judaism. Right here, where my finger is. How the Illuminati founded artificial Judaism. That would be the Zionist. And it says in Revelation 9, in the last book of the Bible, Jews who call themselves Jews but are not. And if you look at pictures of these Jewish people, like Benjamin Netanyahu, they're pretty white. They don't look like Hebrews or Jews. All these people, movie stars who call themselves Jews, many that you wouldn't suspect, Barbara Streisand and many others, they don't look like Hebrews. They're white as white can be. Some of them have that funny nose and funny face. But you start to look into it, like Jerry Seinfeld and all these people, you're surprised who are Jewish. Majority. It's like CEOs for corporations. 80% of them are running the Council of Foreign Relations. Michael Chernoff was in charge of Homeland Security, also an Israeli dual citizen. The Israelis are sending over their police chiefs and instructors on how to train our police officers and sheriffs on how to treat we humans like they treat the Palestinians. How Wusthoff's Illuminati and Frankists work hand in hand to destroy religions and governments. This is by Rabbi Marvin Antleman, the leader of the U.S. Jewish Congress in the United States. That's pretty high up. Remember, the Jews have a split in the party, whether it's a religion or race or whatever you want to call it. Some of them turned away from God and turned towards the dark side, Lucifer, which to me seems to have something to do with the aliens, UFOs, and all this other occultic stuff, spiritual being, interdimensional activities, witchcraft, and all that stuff. But look where my finger is. It says it right there. The connection between the Frankist, Illuminati, Jacobins, and French Revolution that changed society. Pause your computer. Look at this stuff. I'm not making it up, is what I'm trying to say here. Messages from the Maitreya. Maitreya was an ancient god, apparently the Romans worshipped. And apparently they got this so-called god coming back. But you could read the words and it gives away the truth. From the point of light. Remember, Lucifer is the light being. Lucifer means light. Within the mind of God. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. Let light descend on earth? Remember, these people are sun worshippers. Another book I got here, The Reappearance of the Christ and the Masters of Wisdom. And this is that Benjamin Cream, this guy, that I think he was saying he was some kind of God reincarnated by the perfected master, Benjamin Cream, writes with the conviction and authority of direct experience. He gives us new, up-to-date information about the re-emergence into the world, now the masters of wisdom, those illumined men, Illuminati, get it? Who for millennium have guided humanity's evolution. At their head is Maitreya. So here's the book with Maitreya. Notice the picture and the symbol there. And then the picture and the symbol on this one here. Some similarity there. So what I'm trying to say is this stuff does exist. All right, more of this New Age and other groups into the Mystery School of Babylon. The Rosicrucian Enlightenment. Look at the symbols. And I keep talking about the two columns you see here on the New Age Freemasonic magazine, and on the courthouse buildings downtown and the Freemasonic lodges. You'll see the columns. People have texted me or commented to me and say, Rick, you shouldn't include the Rosicrucians. Okay, well, here's the columns. The symbols are there. The lion, just fascinating books I need to read and or reread and pass on the information. Inner Paths to Outer Space. Look at this being up here. Here's a person. Look at this. You think I've got some reading to do? What is this interdimensional world? The world beyond this world? What are these people into the occult and New Age ascension? Drugs. What is the mind control? What is the mind control? Did you see the pictures? The coming of the cosmic Christ. What are they trying to tell us? What kind of demonic entity got all this stuff to read? This book here, The Coming of the Cosmic Christ. I keep talking about witchcraft, occultic, Kabbalah. So I'm looking in this book. It says right here, mysticism. So what I'm trying to say is, what's behind these skull and bones organizations? The New Age, Freemasons. And just a couple more. Had to reach down to get these. But the government's in the remote viewing. Tim Rifat. They train people to go into trances, leave their body and spy on others and get secrets. Even the corporate entities do that. Defense Intelligence Agency document, Controlled Offensive Behavior. Look in this book. Defense Intelligence Agency document, Controlled Offensive Behavior, USSR Russia, July 1972. A complete table of contents and selected sections are reproduced here. The numbers or brackets refer to sources and are listed at the end of the document. Controlled offensive behavior. I couldn't get this book in the United States. Apparently, Tim Rifat's banned in the United States. So I ordered the book from England. Hollywood and the Supernatural, Brad Steiger, and Sherry Hansen Steiger. Lordy, lordy, they tell all. The people who are into the occult and witchcraft. And even the satanic parties they have. And apparently there's been some really strange stuff. And death and blood and guts and gore with these people, with some of the evil things they do. Here's another book. The King of the Witches. The World of Alex Sanders. John Jones. Look at that symbol there. The six-pointed star, the same that's on the Israeli flag. Look. On the circle. And King Solomon's temple. Apparently King Solomon had a magic ring with six-pointed star. And he could call forth demons. Here's some pictures in this book. The witchcraft ceremonies that apparently even Hillary goes to, according to Larry Nichols, who worked for the Clintons. Tarot cards. Some of the witches' instruments there. So apparently the Skull and Bones, the Death Head, in their rituals and ceremonies with people like George Bush and John Kerry getting in a coffin naked, wrestling in the mud, plenty of evidence to indicate that there is truth in the fact that they do abduct people and sacrifice them to death. Alright, why don't I finish up this book, and that'll finish up this video. I just wonder how much evidence a person needs to say to themselves that, oh my God, this is insane. Alright, page 212. Memorandum number 5. Is the order also the Illuminati? That's what it says here. Skull and Bones, George Bush, John Kerry, German Jewish organization is the Skull and Bones, which appears to be a subsidiary of the Illuminati, which is Rothschilds, Rockefeller, all Jewish people, Zionist. So is the order also the Illuminati? The Illuminati was a group of Bavarian conspirators dedicated to the overthrow of government. The society was founded on May 1, 1776. Isn't that May Day? That's a satanic holiday. By Adam Wuchthoff, professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt. Apparently Adam Wuchthoff worked for Rothschilds. The order of the Illuminati presumably ceased to exist when it was raided by the Bavarian police in 1786 on orders from the Elector of Bavaria. The order was dissolved and its seized papers published. So they published the seized papers of the Illuminati. So there's no doubt about this. Because the Bavarian state ordered the Illuminati papers published, we have authentic information about the organization and its method of operation. At this point, we want to draw a comparison between the order known as the Skull and Bones and the order known as the Illuminati in the 18th century Bavaria. That's 1776. when I think it was created at the behest of the Rothschilds, and Adam Weishaupt officially declared the creation. But we believe that the Illuminati, in essence, has been around for 1,000 years. And strangely enough, its home base was in Geneva, Switzerland, where they have the CERN collider with the goddess of destruction Shiva out front and 666 in the logo. The Satanism symbolism is everywhere. And also, the home of the Frankenstein myth was Geneva. Probably the home base for the vampire myth. Wonder what the history is really behind that. I'm sure if I keep reading, we'll figure it out. So anyways, in Bavaria, they found some papers and they published them. The order was dissolved and it ceased papers published. So there's no doubt about it now. They were published. They were banned in Bavaria. Truth be known, they were banned all over Europe at that time. It was a rage. But apparently the rage never reached the USA. The Skull and Bones Freemasons, Illuminati were well in control of the United States back then. The German origins of the order. The order had its origins at Yale in 1833, but Skull and Bones is a chapter of a German secret society. It was introduced into the United States by William Russell in Fritz Springmeier's book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. The Russell family is one of the top 13, including Rothschilds, Rockefeller, Morgan, Chase. All these names, Schiff, DuPont. Later, General William Russell, who brought a charter back from his student days in Germany. The German origins have been denied at the Yale campus, but the evidence exists to confirm German origins. When the temple was raided in 1876, the entrants found a card which was written from the German chapter, presented Patriot D.C. Gilman, 1950, I think. The structure of the organizations, the Illuminati and the Skull and Bones, are both known internally as the Order, or our Order. However, this terminology is not uncommon among secret societies. Remember that book I just showed you, Hitler's Our New Order. The Illuminati had a structure apparently based on the Jesuits. I keep saying the Jesuits are part of this. They are. Where only 2 members were known to each other's superior members. All these secret organizations, the Jesuits, the Zionists, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, Skull and Bones, and many more, according to Constance Coombe, and I'm sure many other books, but her book, Beware of the Rainbow. Hence, we have the rainbow as a symbol for the New Age and the gay agenda, and the destruction of Christianity and decency, and bringing us a satanic New World Order and New Age. Skull and Bones has an entirely different structure, one designed to continue into perpetuity, forever. Moving on here, secrecy in both orders, the Illuminati, Skull and Bones. Both are intensely secret organizations. We have already commented that bonesmen are supposed to refuse to discuss even membership in the order. So what was it, George Bush, who laughingly told somebody that if he told them, he'd have to kill them? When some newspaper man asked him about his membership in the order. This is unquestionably applied to the Illuminati. Secrecy can be used to conceal illegal activities. Obviously, secrecy is only needed if there is something to conceal. Secrecy is superfluous if there is nothing to conceal. Initiates are sworn to secrecy. And just before Kennedy's death, didn't he have that famous speech where he says secrecy is repugnant to the U.S. way of living and that he would expose it? Well, he got killed. The membership lists are secret. The only information to be surfaced has been obtained by illegal means. This poses a moral problem for research and writing. Are we justified in publishing secret information? The Illuminati is also secret. The following is from a private letter between members of the Illuminati, published by the Elector of Bavaria. The great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but always covered by another name and another occupation. Members of both orders use their power and influence to help fellow members. So they help each other get into higher positions in companies, corporations, government positions, elected positions, fiercely denying most of us the opportunity. We can't compete with these people. They have unlimited funds. They control our Federal Reserve. Heck, they're sending Israel billions of dollars a year of our money that, while we have homeless people here in the United States. And the $450 billion a year the United States is spending on its military apparatus, with 200 bases almost all over the world. While we have homelessness and people going broke and poverty-stricken in the United States. It doesn't make sense. Unless you realize they think of us as animals not to be trusted, with no souls. To be disposed of, to be slaves, to be sexually raped. Children, men, women. Our decency and honor taken away. How these three families, with all members in the order, worked closely together to maintain a hold on U.S. foreign affairs for almost a century. Now here's an extract from an Illuminati letter. The power of the order must surely be turned towards the advantage of its members. So whether you're a Freemason, Skull and Bones, or any of the other fraternities of the Mystery School of Babylon, you have to help one another at the detriment to the rest of us. You got to read the Talmud in some of my previous videos. I really think terrible of us and how they are allowed to lie, cheat, steal, rape, murder us. It's not a crime for them because we're animals, they say, in the Talmud, the Jewish Talmud. There is also an interesting piece of circumstantial evidence that points to an Illuminati connection. The catalogs have always been printed in one form or another. So they're saying that the Skull and Bones and the Illuminati catalogs appear to be identical in the symbolism. Signatures and codes and symbols on them. In brief, the organization started in the United States, was in the third decade of the second period. So apparently the dates on the Skull and Bones documents and the dates on the Illuminati appear to match. So a sensible question is, where does that place to start? Presumably in Germany. That places us at the time frame of the elimination of Illuminati by the Bavarian Elector. So even in the United States, when there was an attack on the Freemasons by the people of the United States, apparently when they killed Captain Morgan, who wrote a book, I have a copy, about telling all the things about the Freemasons. Anyways, they abducted him, kidnapped him, and performed one of those horrific murder rituals to him. And people in high places, judges, police departments, senators, representatives, all of them were conspiring to conceal this up so that the American people wouldn't find out the truth. But it did cause a backfire a little bit, and they had to go underground. Apparently, a lot of them went over there and became members of or helped create the Mormon Church as a way of saving the Freemasonic, occultic cults, temples, rituals. Even the Mormon churches, I think, are called temples also, like the Jewish churches are temples, like the Freemasonic buildings are temples, like King Solomon's a temple. So I'm almost done here. Anything important I think I need to really say? Bones is a chapter of a corpse in a German university. It should properly be called, this is page 223, not Skull and Bones Society, but Skull and Bones chapter. Its founder was in Germany before Senior Yale and formed a warm friendship with a leading member of the German society. Immediately by entering the Skull and Bones, a neophyte's name is changed. So they select elites from elite families to be members of the Skull and Bones, only 15 a year. And he is no longer known by his name as it appears in the college catalog, but like a monk or a knight of Malta or St. John becomes Knight so-and-so. So like I said, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, so many organizations. The old knights are then known as Patriots so-and-so. So once they have the 1 year as the Skull and Bones, they are designated to be put in leadership positions, like, believe it or not, George Bush, with no experience, became head of the CIA. And also an ambassador to the United Nations while China was being destroyed as a republic and turned into a communist nation. George Bush Sr. was representing the United States, and that happened on his position as ambassador to the United Nations. Like George Bush Sr., while he was president, we had 911. So whenever the Bushes are put in position of high places, you need to watch out. They're probably doing the opposite of what you think they should do, but certainly had a hand in helping to create the communist revolution in China. So China should look to the United States and say thank you for taking away our free republic nation and making us a communist nation. I would think the citizens would be upset at that. All right, so got pictures of documents you can hardly see here. More documents and manuals. From the catalogs, we learned that the president and secretary of the Scroll and Key are known inside as Chilo or Emirus. So they got these nicknames they give each other, like the Freemasons, like the Illuminati. So they have pins of all the societies that have existed in the college inside the Skull and Bones building they broke into. They have pipe bowls. You know, you smoke a pipe. The bowl is like a little skull. And there's more stuff here. But I think I've shared all I really need to on this. It's certainly a book that if you acquired it and read it, and then compared that information to other stuff you research on the internet or other books, I think most people will agree that these secret societies do rule our planet. Hardly anybody who becomes a senator or a House of Representative, whether a Democrat, whether a Republican, and a lot of these people who fail to win election wind up being appointed to positions of power anyways. So to them, it's all a game. Anyways, while these people from these cults have been in charge and are in charge, our world has been suffering immensely. So maybe we should consider not having these people in charge any longer. Thank you for watching my video. If you appreciate my work on making these videos, there is a donate button in the comment thing. It will help out. And I'll continue making videos. Rick Marico reporting.